Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into an idea that feels, well, totally backwards. In a world where everyone's trying to be seen, we're going to explore how sometimes the best way to increase your value is to just be less available. You know the feeling, right? That limited edition drop, the sold out show, that one person who seems just out of reach. Why is that? What is it about something being rare that just makes us want it so much more? Well, the answer, believe it or not, lies in a pretty fascinating old experiment involving cookies. So, way back in 1975, some researchers came up with this brilliantly simple test to figure this all out. They brought in a group of people, showed them two big glass jars of cookies, and asked them to do one simple thing. Just taste the cookies and tell them which ones were better. Simple enough, right? But of course, there was a twist. Okay, so jar A was packed, totally full of cookies. Jar B, on the other hand, only had a couple left in it. Now here's the kicker, the part the participants had no idea about. Every single cookie in both jars came from the exact same batch. They were literally identical. And the results? They weren't even close. People overwhelmingly preferred the cookies from the almost empty jar. They didn't just like them more, they actually rated them as tasting better, being crunchier, the whole shebang. The scarcity alone made the cookies seem more valuable. It had nothing to do with the cookie, and everything to do with our brains. So this little cookie test actually pulls the curtain back on a huge, fundamental glitch in our thinking. Psychologists call it the scarcity principle. And let's be clear, this goes way beyond cookies. It's like we're hardwired with this little rule in our heads. If it's rare, it must be good. If it's everywhere, it's... This applies to things we buy, to information we hear, and, as we're about to see, it applies in a huge way to people. To really see how powerful this idea can be, we've got to go back in time. We're not just talking about a psychological theory here. We're talking about real history and how one man used absence to literally build an empire from scratch. So picture this. It's the 8th century BC, and the land of the Medes is a total mess. No law, no order, just chaos. Out of this mess comes a guy named Deioces, who gets this reputation for being an incredibly fair judge. People start coming from all over just so he can solve their problems. He becomes the one source of stability. But then, right when he's at the absolute peak of his influence, he does something no one expects. He quits. He just vanishes, says he has to deal with his own stuff. And what happens? The country immediately falls apart again. The people, totally desperate, realize what they lost. So they go begging him to come back. Not as a judge, but this time as their king. And he agrees, but on his own terms. He builds this huge palace and rules from behind its walls, almost never being seen by anyone. And this just shows you the transformation so perfectly. When he was the accessible, available judge, people respected him. But when he became the absent, remote king, whose presence was a rare and precious thing, he was worshipped. He totally understood that once he'd proven his value, making himself scarce would make him seem less like a man and more like a god. The lesson here is so deep. Deioces got this fundamental human truth. Being too available makes you common. It cheapens your value. By turning himself into a rare commodity, he multiplied his power in a way that was just unimaginable before. Okay, so here's the most crucial part. This is not just about disappearing. Absence means absolutely nothing if your presence didn't matter in the first place. So let's break down why establishing that value is step one, the non-negotiable step. I mean, think about it. You see someone who's just crushing it at work, at the gym, with their art, whatever it is. That first feeling you get is usually inspiration, right? A little spark of, wow, that's awesome. Maybe I could do that. But what happens when that person seems so successful that you feel like you could never catch up? Well, our brains are clever little things. That inspiration can quickly sour into envy. And to protect our own egos, we start making excuses for them. Oh, they just got lucky. Well, they must have had help. It's not fair. Their situation was different. That powerful reaction, that envy, is actually proof of how much impact a valuable presence can have. It gets under our skin. All right, now we're going to take this principle into maybe its most personal, and let's be honest, its most dangerous territory, modern relationships. And I have to give a serious word of caution here. This quote from way back in the 17th century just hits the nail on the head. It's rarely a lack of love or attention that ends things. More often, it's an overdose. It's getting too much of a good thing until it's not a good thing anymore. And this is a cycle I'm sure we've all seen or maybe even been in. It starts with great intentions. You're showering someone with attention, you're always there for them. But after a while, that constant 24/7 availability stops feeling like love and starts feeling like neediness, like desperation. And the very thing that was once attractive becomes predictable, common, and honestly kind of annoying. So, what happens when you strategically pull back a bit? That sudden absence of constant attention creates a vacuum. It triggers a little alarm bell in their head, the fear of loss. And that forces them to stop and think about what they might be losing. And all of a sudden, your value in their mind goes way, way up. Okay, let me be crystal clear about this. Using this kind of push and pull dynamic to control a relationship is a form of emotional manipulation. It can work, for sure, but it is an incredibly dangerous double-edged sword. If you're not careful, you can cause real hurt to them and to yourself. So, after going through ancient history, cookie jars, and the messy world of relationships, it all comes down to one single, absolute, non-negotiable rule that makes this whole thing tick. This is it. This is the whole game, right here. If your presence doesn't bring something amazing to the table, joy, intelligence, stability, excitement, whatever it is, then your absence won't matter. It'll just be quiet. You can't create a void if you weren't filling any space in the first place. This lays it out perfectly. There are only two ways this can go. If you disappear without first establishing your worth, you're not missed, you're just forgotten. But if you first make your presence an incredible source of value, then your absence becomes this powerful force that makes people miss you and want you back even more. And this brings us right to the heart of it all. The point of all this isn't to learn how to play games or master the art of vanishing. No, that's missing the point entirely. The real challenge, the real question, is something much more fundamental. So forget about the tactics. Forget about when to text back or how long to wait. Just ask yourself this one question. Is your presence in people's lives so impactful, so positive, so unique that if you were gone, they would actually feel the loss? Because that is the true source of value. That's real power.